Hey everybody, Ryan here at eTrailer. Today on our 2017 Subaru Crosstrek, we're going to be showing you how to install the EcoHitch Trailer Hitch receiver. But before we do that, why don't we check it out and make sure that this is something that's going to work for you. Putting a hitch on a Subaru just makes sense, you know. These things handle accessories very well and people use them to do a ton of different things. And so having a hitch on the back is really going to open up your opportunities on what you can actually do with your Crosstrek. You know, whether you're looking to use an accessory like a bike rack or maybe a cargo carrier, or you know, you can even pull a trailer around. You know, if you have a utility trailer or a pop-up camper, something along those lines, this is going to allow you to get the job done. So the big difference with this hitch compared to all the others is the fact that it is completely hidden. So it's going to sit behind your bumper. You're not even going to see it until you're ready to use it. And that's because you can remove this pop out here. So that snaps into place. And with it in place like that, you're never going to even know a hitch is there. But when you're ready to use it, you're going to have to pop this out. Not gonna lie, you do have to kind of get your hand back there and push it out. It's not super easy, it just doesn't come popping right out like that. But, you know, the advantage is it's gonna look completely factory. So, does a really good job of maintaining that OEM look. With that said, you know, if you're wanting to use this hitch, you are gonna have to make sure that your Crosstrek does have this factory knockout here. I could be mistaken, but I don't think every single one of them do. So definitely look into that, you know, if you're thinking about getting this hitch. With that said, you know, I'm not gonna lie, it's not the easiest hitch in the world to use, you know, since you have to pull this out, everything's kind of buried back there, your pin and clip and everything. So if it were me, I would lean towards this if I was looking to do a couple of things. First and foremost, if I was wanting to have that factory look and not see a hitch. You know, this one's definitely going to allow you to do that and keep that nice clean look. If I was someone who was constantly taking accessories in and out and things like that, you know, not the most user-friendly by any means. I feel like it could get a little annoying over time, but if you occasionally used it, wouldn't be the end of the world by any means. Or if you're someone who, you know, let's say you ride bikes a lot all the time and you don't even bother with pulling the bike rack in and out, but maybe once or twice a year, and you primarily leave it back here, this would definitely be a good option for you there as well, because you only have to do it a couple times. And one of the things with this one, compared to some of the others, is it's got to sit up higher. So it's going to give us more ground clearance. So that's definitely an advantage. You know, these things don't sit super high up off the ground. And compared to some of the other ones, you know, your hitch is down here. So it gets it up off the ground a lot more and gives you more of that clearance. And that even kind of holds true. I know, looks like a handful of these people, or a handful of people actually put some bigger tires on these and kind of do a little off-roading and things like that. So having the hitch higher up is going to, you know, you're going to have a better what's called departure angle. If you're going down big hills or climbing up hills and things like that, you're not going to have to worry about the hitch bottoming out. With all that said though, if you know, you're not really wanting to deal with those things, you're not really super concerned about, you know, having the hitch completely hidden and everything else, and you'd rather just, you know, have kind of your more traditional type hitch, the one that I would probably go with would be the eTrailer one. It's visible, it does hang down here, so it's a little easier to use, a little more user-friendly, but I think it looks the best. It has a matte black finish and kind of a nice modern look to it, and so, you know, like I said, if you're not wanting to deal with this, that would probably be my recommendation on one that's a little easier to use and still looks good. So whenever you are ready to use the hitch, this is one of those deals where you're probably going to have to get down on the ground and kind of work your way in here. It's actually a decent amount of space, it's just pretty low, but the hitch is going to use that standard 5/8 pinhole. Keep in mind though, it doesn't come with a pin and clip. So if you need one, not a huge deal, you can grab it here at eTrailer. And the safety chain openings are going to be a plate style, and you don't have a ton of space back here. You know, your muffler is just behind it. So you're probably gonna need to use a hook that's a little bit on the smaller side. So something like this would work just fine. For those of you that might have, you know, larger hooks like this, you'll probably have to change them. This just really doesn't want to fit in there, and I feel like it'd just be easier to change out the hooks that are a little bit smaller in size and make life a little bit easier for you whenever you're hooking up to your trailer. The hitch is going to have that 2" by 2" receiver tube opening, so super common size, and it really expands your opportunity as far as what type of accessories you can use. At the end, we are going to have a reinforced collar for a little bit of extra support. And a nice touch as well, the hitch is actually made from recycled materials. So, you know, while not a huge deal, you know, when it comes to the environment and, you know, recycling things, every little bit does add up. As far as the hitch's weight capacities go, it's going to have some pretty high numbers that are right on par with the other hitches available. The maximum gross tongue weight rating is going to be 525 pounds, and that's going to be the amount of weight that's pushing down on the hitch. So you should be able to use just about any size bike rack or cargo carrier that you'd want to, for example. As far as the hitch's maximum gross trailer weight rating goes, that's going to be 3,500 pounds. All right, and that's going to be the amount of weight that is pulling on the hitch. So the weight of your trailer plus anything that you might have on it. I do always like to suggest, so it's never a bad idea just to grab your Subaru's owner's manual. That way you can make sure your Crosstrek can pull that much weight safely. And with that in mind, if you're going to be towing a trailer, you want the lights to work on it. You know, that way people around you know what's going on and you'll be safe and legal. And to accomplish that, you can always grab some trailer wiring. Now let's go ahead and just grab a couple of measurements. That way we can try to figure out which accessories are going to work best. It's going to be kind of tricky with the hitch sitting in here like this, but I'll do my best here to give us some accurate information. We go from the ground to the top inside edge of the receiver tube opening. Looks like it's going to be right at about 18.5 inches. So if you plan on pulling a trailer around, you know, chances are pretty good you can use a ball mount that has a straight shank or potentially one that even has a slight drop. If you go from the center of the hitch pin hole to the edge of our bumper, that's going to be right at 4.5 inches. And you can use that measurement to figure out that if any folding accessories you might have can be stored in that upright position without contacting the back of your Subaru. But other than that, at the end of the day, a nice hitch, you know, it's really just going to depend on what you're trying to do. You know, if you're looking for that completely hidden look, definitely the best option as far as that goes. I mean, you can't even tell it's there. So as far as the installation goes, really wasn't too bad, believe it or not. There's a couple different ways you can go about it. What we did was actually remove the rear fascia here, and that might sound intimidating, but really Subaru makes it super easy. There's only a handful of fasteners to pull off, and everything went pretty smooth. So as long as you stay focused, really shouldn't give you a ton of issues. But speaking of that, why don't we go ahead, pull into the garage, and put it on together now. To begin our installation, we're going to be here at the back of our Subaru, and since we need to remove the fascia, what we're going to have to do is start by taking the taillights out. So we'll open up our rear hatch, and if we look here and there, we're going to have two 10mm fasteners. So I'll grab our socket and pull those out. Once we have those removed, we should be able to kind of grab our taillight, pull it back towards us. Then we're just going to disconnect it. So there's a connector right there. Push down on the tab and pull the two apart. So I'll set this off to the side, do the same thing to get the other one out. Now what we need to do is come to our wheel well here, and along this edge we're going to have three fasteners we need to pull out. One of them will be a bolt. So that's an 8mm screw. We'll pull that out. Then this one's kind of buried in here a little bit. There's a plastic fastener all the way back here. It's going to be kind of back there a little ways, but you're gonna take a flathead screwdriver, pry on the head of that fastener, and then it's gonna pop out. So the other fastener is gonna be up here towards the top, and these are a little different. You wanna take a screwdriver or something. I'm just using a flat end here. You know, push the head of that fastener in, and then we can come back and pry the fastener out. And once I have this one out, I'm going to do the same thing on the other side of our vehicle. Now underneath the vehicle, just behind our back tire, we're going to have another push pin fastener here. And when we remove this, our mud flap should come off. A lot of times you have to kind of work at these things that they get a bunch of dirt and stuff built up in them, and sometimes they get sticky. But we can pull that out and our mud flap off, set this to the side, and from this point on, anything we do to one side of the vehicle, we're going to do to the other side because it'll be set up the same way. Now if we continue to just work along this edge on each side, we're going to have 3 more. 2 right here. And again, just a trim tool really does help with these. Gives you a little more leverage. So like I said, for whatever reason, these type of fasteners just hold dirt a lot better, and sometimes can be tricky to get out. Do the same deal for this one. And we'll have 1 more right here. Now at the next set of hands, we can remove our fascia. So you want to start at the corner, and I put some tape here along the edges just to prevent scratches if we bump into anything. But these pop out pretty easy. You just kind of pull the edge and start to work your way all the way around. So once you pop it off, ours doesn't have any electrical wires, but if yours does, go ahead and unplug them. But since we're in good shape, we'll go ahead and just set this off to the side, somewhere safe. Now we can remove our bumper beam. So we're gonna have 3 bolts, 1 there, 1 at the bottom, and 1 on the other side. So you can take a 14mm socket and get them all removed. This one on the inside is actually gonna be a nut. I think the other 2 are actual bolts here. So I went ahead and got the other side off already, and we're going to pull our bumper beam off and set it to the side. Now we need to remove these bumper hanger deals. Remember how they're on there, that way we can reinstall them in the correct fashion when the time comes. But what you're going to do is just a push pin fastener like the other ones, just pry underneath of it, pop it out, and then you can kind of lift up and swing it out to get it removed. Now if you look on the bottom of our frame rail on each side, we're going to have some rubber plugs. And we need to remove these, so you can just use a screwdriver or a trim tool and pop them out. Now we can get our hardware inside of the frame. You want to start with this hole here, close to the front of the vehicle. Take the coil end of the fish wire, push that through until it pops out of the bumper opening there. And what you're going to do is take a bolt, a star washer, and a spacer block. Thread that onto the pull wire. Pull it until it drops out, like so. And carefully remove your fish wire because you'll need it for the other side. And then you can take the same hardware combination and through the hole closest to the back, you can put that in. You can use a fish wire if you want. I found it's, you know, about just as easy just to kind of feed it through there like that until it drops out. Now with the next set of hands, you can take your hitch and raise it into position. And careful not to push the bolts back up into the frame if you can help it. So for now, what we're gonna do is just take a nut and get it started hand tight. That way the hitch will support itself. Eventually we are gonna have to take this back off and put some washers and stuff up there, but it's a little bit easier to get going. First, we'll set the other one up the right way. The hitch will stay supported, then we can come back and put the right hardware combo on here. So the actual combination that you're gonna wanna use, 2 flat washers. Put those over. You take a split lock washer. And then get the nut started. And once we have this one pretty tight, at this point we can come back, take this nut off. And put that same hardware combo on 2 flat washers, that split lock washer, and the nut. Once the hardware is in place and hand tight, come back with a 19mm socket and snug everything down. Now we need to make sure to come back with a torque wrench and tighten down all the hardware to the amount specified in the instructions. If you don't have a torque wrench, you can grab one here at eTrailer, or a lot of times you can go to your local auto parts stores and they'll have one there available to rent. Now we can put our bumper beam back on. I'm kind of curious to see how this is going to go because it looks pretty tight here next to the hitch. So what I'm thinking is maybe get one side started or really close. We might just be able to kind of tap that down with the hammer. That worked out pretty good actually. It kind of fell into place. But with that done, now we'll just go ahead and take all that factory hardware and get them started again. So once they're all in place and hand tight again, now we'll just come back and snug them down. And just like the hitch bolts, don't forget to come back and torque these down to the amount specified in our instructions. So I went ahead and reinstalled our bumper support bracket deals here, and you slide it up, push it in, pull it down to lock it in, and put your fastener, your pushpin fastener in there. Knowing what I know now, I probably would have did this before the bumper beam because you got a lot more room to work, but either way it is doable whether your bumper beam's on there or not. Now if we come over here to our fascia where this center knockout is, we need to trim off this portion here, the square portion. You want to make sure to leave enough plastic around here though that the knockout panel can actually grab onto something. That way you can put it in and take it out. So my theory is, you know, start where I think, and we can always cut more material off if we need to. Can't really put it back on. So just to be on the safe side, I'm going to use a cutoff wheel to do this. Around this part here, be careful because it is kind of close to the fascia itself, but that said, we'll go ahead and get to trimming. Once you have that piece trimmed, now we can simply reinstall our fascia the opposite way that we removed it. And that'll finish up our look at and our installation of the EcoHitch Trailer Hitch receiver on our 2017 Subaru Crosstrek.